Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tony Holowitz from 365acttips.com and tonytheteacher.com. My tip today, I'm going to talk to you about the difference between notes and history in ACT. A lot of people really love notes in ACT because as they're on a contact, they can actually put in a quick note. And to do that, it's as simple as coming up here, clicking on Note, and then the Note dialog box will come up, and I'm just going to type in a quick note. Tony was here. But see, I'm not a big fan of notes, and let me tell you why. If I come on the Notes tab, it's going to record that the note was recorded right here. I can double click it on to see the note, but having stated that, that's really all it does for me from an ACT point of view. It records a note. What a lot of people don't realize is that you can do something very similar by using a history. And in my opinion, history is the better way to go, and let me explain why. To do a history, all you have to do is come up here and click on History, and you're going to see in a second it's a very similar dialog box to the notes, but there is a distinct advantage to history. And one of the things I want you to realize is that one of the great things about ACT is that it can tell you information that's in there, and it also can tell you information that's not in there. It can show you information that's lacking as well as show you information that exists in the contact. So keep that in mind as I illustrate that. First and foremost, the reason I want to show you about histories is because if you understand a little bit about the history and what it will do for you as far as ACT is concerned, you'll see how, in my opinion, histories are much better to use than notes in ACT. And let me show you what I mean by that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the latest activities tab, and I want to draw your attention to some items down here. The email, the call attempt and reach, meeting, and letter sent. By default, when you do certain things in ACT, these boxes will have a date put in them. To illustrate that a little bit better, I've actually modified this layout. You'll see it's called Basic Contact Layout 800 by 600. And I created a layout that includes this information up here. So let me show you that real quick. Once you understand the idea that things get modified when you do things in a certain way with ACT, I think what you'll find is that it works a lot better when you're dealing with ACT and doing certain things in ACT. So to illustrate that, and this doesn't want to come up, bear with me just one second. Let me just hit this key right there. Excellent. Okay, so now what I've done is I've moved these things up on the ACT screen so they're much more visual. You don't have to click on a tab to go find that information. So again, if we wanted to do a note, we could click on Note, but let me show you the huge advantage of history. I'm going to click right here on History, but I want you to observe these two boxes down here. I'm going to click on History, and when this box comes up, I can modify this drop down to let it be anything I want. And typically, in my experience, most of the time when I'm creating a history, I am making a phone call because the nature of what I do is I'll do a lot of follow-up with my clients by phone and I will call them. So I want you to notice right up here it says, what type of history is it? It's a call. And by default, I can choose any one of these, or not by default, but I can choose any one of these by clicking on the drop-down. But I always leave it as a call. In the regarding field, my experience has been when I follow up with people, one of two things happens. Either I reach them or I don't reach them. But that's for another discussion. But now I can come down here and create a note just like in the notes area. But this is the major difference right here. When I come down and click on OK, what I want you to observe is that one of these boxes is going to get filled in with today's date. So I'm going to click on OK. Now it populated the last reach field with today's date. Why is that so relevant? It's relevant because as I'm glancing at a contact, if I have these fields up here, I can see very clearly the last time I reached out to this contact. If I created a note and I put some notes in there because I placed a phone call or maybe I saw the person or whatever it might be, I can literally, or I would have to come down and click at notes to see when that note was done. The notes doesn't record any kind of history. Now, having said that, it actually does. There's a field in ACT that we could put up here that's called last edit. So if I come in here and do anything with the contact, whether I, put in a note or a history or anything I do, it will record the last edit date. So even though I say that, it's not 100% true. Yes, the edit date could be put here, but it's just not as accurate. Now, the beauty of this is this. Many of you use groups in ACT, but I have a group set up that will put all my clients in there that I haven't reached out to in 60 days. So what ACT does is two things. It looks at the ID status field, and if it says client, it will put them in the group only if this date is older than 60 days. So imagine the convenience of being able to follow up or looking at a contact, or if you're a sales manager, being able to look at a contact and knowing exactly what's going on because I've used histories versus notes. I think history gives you more bang for your buck, and that's why I think history is so much better than using notes. That's my opinion. I'm sticking to it. Use histories, not notes. The keyboard shortcut to do a history is the control key and the letter H. But this is so easy to do. Use the history. My name is Tony Holowitz. Thank you very much. Have a great day.